How are you today, Tom?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Let's get right into the new record. I've listened to all of it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. There is some really strong material on this record. I was wondering, it seems a little bit more upbeat than The Way Life Goes. There's more upbeat numbers. Was that intentional, or do you just write as you go?
I think it might be because it's shorter. We kind of purposely went in to do a record that had less tracks and a little more focused. So, with The Way Life Goes being 14 tracks on it, there was more variety, and so I think that this one's a little more compact and focused. So maybe that's the reason.
Yeah, because I really like The Way Life Goes. It's got a real mix and variety of songs. But when I look back at your catalog and your history, at least for me as a fan, some of the upbeat songs or the faster songs are the ones that I like the best. So for those of you that are listening that are not familiar with either of these records, make sure you check them out. There's some, like I said, strong material on this new record. The Death of Me and All Amped Up are two of my favorites. It's kind of, to me, quintessential of what you are as an artist.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you. Yeah, I like both those tracks too. The Death of Me really spoke to me in terms of about that overcoming your adversity. So we felt that'd be a really strong first single, and we had a lot of fun making the video for that one, getting to smash and break some
Oh,
stuff and get that aggression out. So yeah, and I again getting back to I think a lot of the energy also that you're hearing on the record is the fact that this record was recorded very differently than The Way Life Goes. This was recorded actually with the new band that I've been touring with for the last 6 years. So there's that chemistry that we've had on the road and that energy that you're kind of hearing in the grooves of this record, as opposed to The Way Life Goes was made without. There really wasn't a band at that time. It was more like session players and a lot of overdubbing and kind of building the record in that way. So I think a lot of that energy, we tried to capture a lot of that aggression and high energy feel that we have on tour together as a band when we made this record.
well, yeah, and I think you did that. I'd say I've seen at least a dozen shows of you solo, and I really like the band. I know you've had a few minor changes. You've switched out a drummer and you've switched out keyboard, but for the most part, the bulk of it has stayed intact.
Yeah, and we've had a great energy and chemistry from day one, and like you said, we did have the one change kind of. I think it was back in 2017, I guess that our drummer Paul and keyboard player Paul Taylor were just kind of been on the road for years and years and just wanted to be home, and it was a really, really hard decision for them, and it really freaked us out because the band had such a great chemistry, and you never know what's going to happen when you change out, and Corey and Jared, our new keyboard player and drummer, came in and just really, really kicked ass, and the band has the same kind of energy and chemistry that we had from the get-go, maybe even a little stronger at this point. So
Yeah, it seems like you didn't miss a beat. I've seen both versions, and I think for me as a fan, one of the things I really appreciate about the band that you have is the diversity and how great all the players are. And that's not taking anything away from your days in Cinderella, but it just seems like everybody's happy.
yeah, well, the important thing with the chemistry that I'm talking about is it's not only musically and on stage, it's also off stage, and we all really have hit it off personally from day one, and that's really important when you're working together, and particularly going in to make this new record. We have great communication. We really like each other and respect each other, and listen to each other. So we've been through a lot over the last 6-7 years that we've been a band, and everyone's kind of really had each other's back going through this journey, because we faced some challenges collectively, but also individually.
Yeah.
Everyone's facing something different every day, and we've all rallied around each other, and just it's a great family. So.
Which is great to hear. And I think that that's some of the things that gets lost to some people that are fans of different artists, is that you guys are no different than anybody else. Yeah, you choose music as your profession, but you guys struggle through the same highs and lows as everybody else does as a human being.
Yeah, I mean, everybody goes through, you wake up every day, everyone on this planet does, and you've got great things that happen in your life, but you also have, things that you have to overcome, or challenges, or things you weren't expecting. And, we all go through that too. And it's been really nice having this group of people who have really kind of watched out for each other and had each other's backs, as I've said.
When you have so many of your peers that have said things along the lines of there's no use in recording new music anymore and it doesn't make any sense, and all the other arguments I'm sure you've heard, what is it that you feel is the value in recording new music? Because for me, as a listener of music, I enjoy the fact that you guys are still recording.
Well, just, personally, it's just, I've been playing guitar and singing songs since I was 8 years old, and I actually dabbled in songwriting at that young age. So
Yeah.
it's kind of always just been an expression of emotions, and like a cathartic kind of process, to write songs and then go perform them and get them out and share them with people. And so first and foremost, that's just something that's been part of me for a long time. So I enjoy doing it. And I think, in terms of, just, I guess, from the music business side of it, I think it's important that now that we have a new band and a new entity out there, rather than just going and playing the songs from my past with Cinderella, I think it's very important to inject new music and energy to that, because it is a new band, and it needs to have that new music injected into it that kind of sits alongside the old material, and I think that really lends a lot of legitimacy to the new band that we've been out touring with.
Oh, I agree, and I look forward to the new songs that you play. For me, Solid Ground is one of my all-time favorite songs that you've written. So for me, when you play that, that's always a treat. And so I think that that's one of the things you've been successful in doing is you've always stayed true to who you are as a singer, songwriter, and performer. And I think sometimes bands get a little bit lost and they go off track and do some stuff that almost alienates their fan base.
Yeah, well, so you mentioned Solid Ground, and that was the first single off The Way Life Goes, and we had, fortunately had some really great success with that at radio. The label that released that was a big, strong believer in radio, and we got a lot of airplay on that. So, in the show, that's been following Nobody's Fool, and the show goes to another level. So it's really cool to see that you can play a new song after a big hit like Nobody's Fool, and people know it, and are singing it back, and that's really cool. And it's something that, like I said, it's important if you're out there touring with a new band. To me, I want to keep giving new music and putting out new stuff. So,
well, yeah, and for someone like myself, I appreciate it because I look for new music, and there's a lot of great bands out there. But I've said this before, not to you, but you're kind of one of the last of the great rock stars, in my opinion. You have that swagger and that thing about you that defines, for me, what rock and roll is. And a lot of the younger kids don't seem to be in touch with that. I don't really know how to describe what that is, but I think it's important that you continue to create music for all of us that are willing to listen.
Yeah, well, I think it comes down to, I really appreciate, and the band does too, that people are still willing to listen. So it makes us want to do our best when we make a record.
Yeah.
Because we know there are people who want to listen, and getting that kind of feedback, like we talked about on Solid Ground Live, and now with the new record we've been playing stuff off Rise, that's a really good feeling, I guess, is what I was trying to say, that there are people who still appreciate, you putting new music out, and that makes us want to put our best foot forward and really deliver something that, that the fans are going to enjoy.
Yeah, because there's more people out there that would appreciate new than there are that are not interested in that. But it's finding that group of people. Now, you have your hardcore fans who are going to follow you, but you also are always looking, obviously, to add to your fan base. So, how now, if you go back to the 80s with Cinderella when you were first starting out versus where you are today, the music business has changed so much, even just in the last 5 years. So, what do you as an artist have to do to change your perspective or how you go about doing this?
Well, I think the creative process is the same.
Okay.
You just try to write and record the best music and record that you can. And, we still make music videos, and, with this new band, we've made quite a few. And, they just out there a different way now. It's YouTube now, not MTV. So it's just a different, So in a lot of ways, things are still the same. I'm still a very strong believer in radio. So again, on this record, we're working. The first singles is being worked at FM rock radio. So the death of me is out there on the airwaves, and I think that that's still important. So a lot of the same things are still in place. They just kind of get out there a different way. The touring, there's still a big element of kind of spreading the word, and we still love. I love the art form of videos and making them, and
Well, yeah.
I just think that I think people discover those a different way now, obviously online than say MTV. So in some ways, it's very different because there's a much more of a media overload with online and social media, and there's just so many different ways people can discover music. And on one hand, maybe seems like a good thing, but there's also a white noise factor to that too, because there's so much and so many places you can go to. So I think that's the thing that's really different, but it's just kind of blasting it out there and hoping that you reach the people that you want to.
Well, and that's why I think it's so important that you have to have your social media platform. Because for someone like me, I grew up, just like you did, buying records in the store, or you would go into your favorite record store and they'd have a whole list of all of the releases that are coming out in the month of October and exactly when they're coming out. So you always knew. Now it is white noise because I can't keep up between family and life and work and everything. It's hard and it's frustrating.
Yeah.
And so some of these tools have been great, like Bands in Town and different things to help you kind of know. So that's another thing I want to let people know, that you are going to be playing at the Medina Ballroom, which is kind of near Plymouth, not far west of downtown Minneapolis by about 25 minutes. And that's going to be on November 1st. And the opening act will be LA Guns with Tracy Guns back in the band. So that's a really good double bill.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. We actually did a show earlier this year, and we have another one too coming up in October with them, and they're great. Always was one of my favorite bands from the 80s. So and we're looking forward to that show for sure.
Well, and they're another band that puts out new music. So the other thing I think that's interesting about your career is you've been very good about avoiding the trap that so many of your peers, I think, have fallen into, where all they do is play these 80 type festivals and they don't really release anything new, and they just kind of play the same set list over and over. And I would think from a perspective of someone who likes to create music, that would be almost like a real bummer to be stuck that way.
Well, I love playing the old stuff. I wrote it, I sang it, I played the good, majority of the guitar work and involved in the production. I'm so grateful that people want to come out and still hear those songs and sing them. So we play many of the big festivals, but even at those festivals, we always have some new stuff.
Yeah.
The set lists are a little shorter at those, so you got to usually truncate the set a little bit. But we always try to put some new stuff in those shows too, and there's big festivals where like go back to Solid Ground again, because it had a lot of success at radio, where you're playing big festival and everyone knows the song. So
which is great.
I think it's important, even in those situations, to be offering something new, but particularly for for this situation with it being a completely new band, that was
Yeah.
kind of really born overnight with the release of The Way Life Goes. It's not like this morphed from the old band slowly over the years into what it is now. I mean, this was new like overnight. So I think new music being part of it is really important.
But I think
But
that
I also think it's important to be playing this stuff from my old catalog as well, because people want to hear it.
oh gosh, yeah, I do too. I love all of the old stuff. In fact, I want to make a request if you can squeeze it in. I know you got a full
Yeah.
set. I would love to see you add one for rock and roll. I've never heard you play that live. It's still one of my favorite songs. There's just something about it.
We actually did that song in its entirety the first year we were out with the band in 2013.
Oh shoot, I missed
The,
it.
the first two legs of The Way Life Goes tour, we were doing that song.
Yeah, you've got your back catalog, as most people know that are listening, that are all, Cinderella fans. Your stuff is fantastic, has been all the way back to the start. But I know that they will come down on me if I don't ask you at least a couple of Cinderella questions. All right.
Okay.
The first one that really interesting to me is because I never lumped your band in with a lot of the other bands in the 80s. I never considered you hair metal, if you want to use that term. You guys were always, to me, a very blues-based rock and roll band, straight ahead, just like Aerosmith. Do you think that when that first record came out, that your path would have been different at that point had you guys dressed differently, or do you think that the cover really made an impact because of the style at the times to help you launch your career?
I think that it's, you can never say if only we had done this or that,
Right.
something might be different. The fact of the matter is, it was a style of the times, and it was a style of the times that was brewing, before it really came into vogue. I played in a lot of cover bands and stuff in the Jersey, Philadelphia club circuit, where we were dressing that way before it was really becoming mainstream. So it was something that was kind of bubbling, I think, in every city around the country at the time, this kind of like amped up version of the 70s glam rock, that we were all kind of coming back to, I guess. And so, it just, I don't really regret anything. It's like that's what we were feeling at the time, and that's what we did, and certainly can't complain about, where it took us and where it's led me to where I am today, too. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the reason I asked that question is I have a music podcast, and we were just discussing this a few weeks ago, that, with that type of thing, album artwork, and, does it help you? Does it hurt you? Just like the MTV videos and all that. Because some of the classic guys that are into Deep Purple may go, okay, well, these guys might be too much like this band, and I don't really care for this band, so I'm not going to give them a chance. But the other side of the coin then is that there could be people like, oh my God, these guys look awesome, this is going to rock, and they pick it up because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's, it is what it is. Like I said, that was something that was kind of bubbling, I think, that style or that image, even before it became in vogue or mainstream and bands started blowing up. So it was something that was, just what we were feeling at the time.
Yeah, well, whatever you did it right, because I think that you kept growing, and you still continue to grow to this day. And I, for one, really appreciate all the music and all of the stuff you've given us as fans.
Cool. Well, we appreciate you listening. I really do.
Awesome. So everybody, November 1st, and Tom's out on the road right now with his band. You can find him on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. It's tomkeifer.com, Keifer, for those of you that can't spell. And I believe some of it's, well, it doesn't hurt to mention it. And I think Keifer Band, you can find it that way as well. So please get out there and support live music. Go out and check out his new record called Rise. And we'll be seeing you in town soon, Tom.
Great talking to you, and you have a great day.